Well, good morning, friends. It is now 10:19 in the morning, 61 degrees. We've got lots of sunshine out there, just some upper level cloud cover, some cirrostratus clouds, a little bit of just cirrus clouds in general. A bit of a breeze, gusts getting up to about 30 miles per hour for this afternoon. But listen, what's on tap for us throughout the next really 12 to 72 hours is a lot of thunderstorm activity. We could definitely see a severe weather threat to the region, potentially even close to the metro itself, which is why we are up and we are going to kind of sort of take a dive into it, digging into these thunderstorms, what has changed to the atmosphere, and what we can expect as we move forward in time. So, good morning to you guys. First Warn 5 meteorologist Greg Bennett here. I've been tracking this all morning long, and of course, our other meteorologists, First Warn 5 meteorologist Warren Sears and Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris, were on the location, difference in kind of trending locations for severe storm activity for tonight's forecast. But what came down the line at about 12:30 this morning was a brand new update to severe weather potential to the region. And we have now added a level 2 for severe weather, a slight risk of severe storm activity to the region. Not only that, but the location of these storms and how many of these storms have also altered within our forecast. First thing I want to do, though, is show you where we're going to be at for at least today in our severe weather threat. I'm going to quickly bring up our map here of the severe weather prediction chart that we've got, and you'll see how we kind of altered from yesterday's forecast to where we're at for this morning. You can see the green kind of hue to the map here, right? It's marginal risk. It's the lower end of our scale right now that we're monitoring. But what has happened through the past 12 hours is that marginal risk was literally centered right over the actual metro yesterday, kind of cutting us in half on both sides of the Missouri River Valley, the Kansas side, and of course the Missouri end. We have now shifted everything over to more of that extreme eastern side of the metro on the fringe of that marginal risk, and the meat and potatoes of that threat is more from Odessa to around Marshall and Sedalia. And that is conducive with what we've seen in the modeling data with the new information, the raw materials that we've produced from the atmosphere. We took that information and we put it into that model for you. That's not the only thing that we're tracking. Let's talk about where we're at when it comes down to the next day, our Wednesday forecast. And there it is, a yellow zone smack dab in the midst of the Kansas City metro that stretches back up into south and eastern Nebraska. This is more conducive with the wraparound of the low pressure system, I believe. You can see how it kind of arcs its way in such a manner that it seems like there's rotation to it. And I believe that's because we're getting into that kind of fringe rotation of low pressure on that north and eastern side of the low itself. So where are we with those storms? Exactly. Well, let's keep on moving with this and show you. The wind and the hail development have now pushed to a moderate threat, but notice that needle in the tornado opportunity, or at least rotation of the atmosphere. That dial has moved. It was nearly all the way to the end of extremely low risk, and now we're trying to inch closer and closer to the moderate threat. We've seen a lot of changes happen over the past 12 hours here, so let's discuss them. We talked about it a little bit yesterday morning, that there were two ingredients that we needed specifically to actually start to enhance the severe weather risk. One was moisture content to the atmosphere. The other was what we call available potential energy. And that's exactly what has happened. We've seen both of those change over the past 12 hours. We introduced more moisture content than expected. The temperature is still on the warm side, and now we've added more convective available potential energy, or CAPE, to our atmosphere. That's really around the 850 millibars and moving all the way up to about 600 millibars. So basically from the surface to the mid levels of the atmosphere. With those two combinations, this aids us in destabilizing our atmosphere. So now we've got instability. We've got enough energy to the atmosphere. We've got more moisture content, the fuel source that the storm system needs to keep going. And one more just little cherry on top is that third one there. We've seen an increase in wind shear to the mid-levels. As you go up into the atmosphere, the wind increases significantly, ranging anywhere from 40 knots all the way up to about 75 knots. And that could help us out in kind of rotating the atmosphere or around these storm cells that are being produced around the area of low pressure. This is the reason why we have increased to a slight risk for severe storms, specifically Wednesday night and going into our early Thursday morning. And that's why we've increased, of course, that tornado or rotation opportunity to the mix. And of course, that's why we are first warning you. Now, is this going to be a widespread threat? No, it's not going to be a widespread threat. And in fact, let me bring in the forecast modeling data for you. This is just one of our models that we're going to introduce to you, but this is a short ensemble model, meaning that it's a short range. It's going to show you the next 24 to 48 hours. It's much more precise than our extended forecast models. So if we're trying to look at something that's all the way out towards next Monday, it's going to show us something, but it's not going to be very precise on what we could actually see intensity-wise and kind of storm coverage-wise. This is much more prone to showing us the intensity of the storms and where they may show up overall throughout the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's first and foremost move through our Tuesday night. Remember, we've shifted that marginal risk much more to the east. And I think the meat and potatoes is really from Odessa to Marshall that we're going to see that opportunity for thunderstorms to develop. So let's move this in time here. And as we get through time, we start to see those storms ignite closer to around the fringe of our kind of viewing area. So right there around maybe Livingston County and then technically stretching all the way down to Benton County. I don't want to rule you guys out. You could see though how intense the coloration is with these storm cells in the forecast modeling, right? This tells us that this is going to be a significant thunderstorm, potentially a severe weather threat. And for the most part, we're looking at an opportunity tonight that if we do see severe storms out east, it's more likely for damaging wind in excess of 58 miles per hour and potentially getting into at least quarter-size diameter hail, meaning the hailstone is about the size of a quarter or larger. That's what we're most likely going to see. And of course, with torrential rainfall and frequent lightning, it's still a scary storm system, and we want to make sure that you guys are staying safe about it. But that moves on out, as you can see. And then we get into Wednesday, where Wednesday becomes rather quiet for us. We then build up into the evening, and it will be a late night scenario for us. Notice where we're at with the storm activity, right? There's Richmond, there's Marshall, there's a good storm that develops there. And then as we move on into 10 p.m. at night, it now introduces around the metro, KCI, and then moving up into even our northern counties, just south of Cameron along Interstate 35, if I'm not mistaken. It continues through the area to track east, and we could even see some of those stronger storm cells up towards Holt and even Nodaway County up around Maryville. So this just gives you an idea of the intensity of these storms, right? Remember, we're getting a little bit more information hour by hour here as we get introduced to new data. And this is showing us kind of the intensity of some of these storms. The darker those reds, the more likely we're going to be getting into a severe thunderstorm threat. Okay. Notice, though, as we went through time, this is not a widespread threat. This is almost isolated in a sense. We get pockets of thunderstorm activity, not a huge line that goes from one end of the metro to the other, or from the viewing area on the Kansas side to the Missouri side. This is kind of sort of a cell kind of forms. Maybe it encompasses several different counties, but then moves off, and it's not a broad threat for us. So the rain chance, the actual rain chance as it stands now for Wednesday, is about 30 to 40%. Okay, so that's our coverage of the areas, maybe 30, 40% opportunity for the area to get these thunderstorms. But within that thunderstorm chance of 30 to 40%, we have a higher chance that those storms are not just going to be wear and tear thunderstorms, but they can be severe thunderstorm activity. All right. So do you understand what we're talking about when we're first warning you about this? Severe weather threat is out there. It's not a huge widespread opportunity, an outbreak of widespread thunderstorms. It's going to be a bit more isolated, but where we could see those storms is where we're going to see a better opportunity for rotation, for high wind, damaging wind, or hail development. And so far, the timing of this is, again, looking to be late Wednesday night and transferring into our early Thursday morning. And again, we still have an opportunity this evening, but it's much more to our extreme eastern counties that we're going to see that. Maybe off around Carrollton County and then Livingston County, maybe getting around Ray, Clay County kind of area, that last little hit before we get to about 12 o'clock in the morning of our Wednesday. This is going to be rather brief tonight, but still within those areas, if you do have friends and family around Marshall, Chillicothe, the Richmond region, just have them prepped and ready to go. Maybe they may lose some power. They're going to get some really loud noises from some of these thunderstorms that develop. The bigger threat is really going to be our Wednesday that I'm more concerned with. Again, mid to late evening between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. That we're going to start the initial storm activity, and then it really wants to amp up as we get into the evening time frame. I think what is happening here is that we are getting that warmer kind of air mass we've been dealing with for the past couple of days. Today alone, we're looking at the mid-70s out there. I think we're going to continue that even into our Wednesday afternoon. And even as we go into the evening and drop the sun, what happens is any of the concrete or the ground that has absorbed the warmth of the day for these past couple of days is going to let that release, all right, or radiate off. We call that radiational healing, or heating, or really cooling, if you would call it that as well, where we're going to radiate off the warmth of the day, and that escapes into the atmosphere, and colder sinking air takes over, right? So all of that warm air is being released from the ground and the concrete, and that aids in destabilizing our atmosphere because it lifts that energy, that moisture into the upper levels where it wants to mix for us and produce potentially these stronger storm cells. So it's all kind of lining up for why we've seen an increase to a slight risk for severe weather all the way around. I'm not worried about that. The location currently for that slight risk for severe weather, at least for Wednesday here, as you can tell, we definitely see some strong storms out there around Richmond and Odessa, maybe Marshall to start off. So I'm thinking we're going to see another update to that slight risk for severe weather. I really do. And it may encompass a little bit farther east, still including the metro, of course, but we may add more counties to that slight risk of severe weather overall. So it's going to be something that we want to continue to monitor with us. You want to stay with us, stick with us as we get that vital information that comes in. That's what First Warn Weather is all about. You know, I don't know if you've seen those commercials that we have. We call them promotions, promos. And we talk about severe weather. And at the end of one of them, I mentioned to you, hey, listen, we're not here to freak you out or to scare you, but we will first warn you about things that happen. That's what this is about right now. This is not to scare you. This is not to freak you out. This is not going to be the end of the world. We're not looking at crazy tornado outbreaks. I'm not calling for that. But we did see a big change here, and there is an opportunity for some damaging thunderstorm activity to occur across areas that are densely populated. And even so, it doesn't matter if they're densely populated or not. We want to make sure that you know this information so you can prep yourself for it, be as prepared as possible for the severe weather activity that ensues during our spring and summer seasons. All right, so that's what it's all about, friends. All right, so that's what we've got going on. One more look again, I want to show you. It's a marginal risk for severe storm activity as we move forward into tonight's forecast, mainly between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. We start up. It goes on in towards about midnight 30 of our Wednesday, and it's more likely going to occur from about Richmond there, right on over towards Marshall and Sedalia for the stronger storm cells at this time. Are we going to see updates with potential changes to where we could develop those storms through the day today? Absolutely. We could absolutely see a couple of more changes here. We're not done. That's what's great about the atmosphere, is that it is in constant flux. It's constantly changing for us. This is why we call it forecasting and not facting, because if it was the end-all be-all, then we wouldn't be here as meteorologists. You just get the information and that's it. That's exactly what the atmosphere is going to do, so you don't have to worry about it. Why use us? You don't need us. So we're just your more well-educated guessers, I guess, in this situation with mathematics, physics, and obviously meteorology backing us up. All right, so that's Tuesday night. Again, here is Wednesday night. that we've got that slight risk for severe storm activity. Again, I think that we may see an update here maybe around lunchtime that we expand that slight risk closer to around Chillicothe, maybe the Marshall area. I wouldn't be surprised if that occurs. And then let me show you what's going on for our Thursday forecast. I did not show you that. This is Thursday's outlook. And as you can see, it's really the exit of the storm system, right? This is going into Thursday morning. We still have the slight risk. It's out there for our extreme eastern counties. And then that kind of light green tone that you see over the metro and out towards Kansas overall, that's just going to be wear and tear opportunities for shower and thunderstorms. Nothing on the severe side, but maybe we can get an isolated thunderstorm with gusts at 25, 30 miles per hour. That's something that we'll have to watch off on the back side of that low pressure system. Unfortunately, this low does usher in some colder air. By the time we go from Thursday to Friday, we'll go from 70 degrees Thursday to about 57 degrees on Friday. Just be ready for that too. All right, and we do have gusts at 25 miles an hour even into Saturday. High temperatures in the low 60s. It's a good day. It's going to be sunny, but I think it's going to be worth the jackets overall, especially if you're going to be heading out to the KC Current match or perhaps the Sporting KC match during the evening time frame. All right, I'm going to leave you with a beautiful look of the metro right now. It's stunning out there. It's still breezy. It's still windy. Temperatures are in the lower and middle 60s right now. We're going to get better with the temperatures. Enjoy it. This is your time to kind of prep. Maybe you've got an opportunity to head to the store, get some extra batteries, make sure that you've got that all taken care of. Make sure that you juice up your phones as we move through the next several nights here. That way you've got a way to stay informed. You can always check us out on air as well, but also online. You know, that's how you get your streams as well. Loves and hugs. Stay safe. If we have updates for you, we're going to let you know. Warren Sears is in, and then our chief meteorologist